I don't normally do this. I don't normally get involved on politics, particularly on YouTube, but I've done a quick search this morning and the top 10 pages are all media point of view where they're trying to absolutely terrify people over this whole Brexit thing. And I'm literally pulling my hair out, well, what's left of it anyway. I'm a British citizen and I just want someone to hear my point of view. And it seems that the only way I can do this is by making a video and having a rant. As I say, I'm a British citizen. I live in the UK. I live in Bristol. I'm a family man. I run a business. I've got cars. I own a house. So I do contribute to the UK economy. And I want someone to listen to my opinion because I am so fed up of listening to these politicians and particularly having the media point of view rammed down my throat. First thing I want to say, because I am seeing this nowhere on anything, okay, I'm seeing none of it, so this is the most important thing for me. I'm British and we are part of the United Kingdom. That's England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, Gibraltar, Falkland Islands, whatever it means to be part of the United Kingdom and British. We're British, okay? And there are people out there in the world that fight for the British way of life. We've got armed service people that are around the world looking after our security. We've got security services that we don't even know about. I'm British and I want to be proud to be British and part of the United Kingdom. And we are just not seeing that from our politicians at all in any way, shape or form. I would like to say very, very clearly, I'm not directing my annoyance at the general population of the EU. I'm directing my annoyance at the political leaders of the EU and the politicians in Brussels and the politicians in the UK. I love Europe. I love travelling around Europe and I like the people in Europe as a rule. So this is very much a political rant. And what I will say is that being part of the UK is something to be proud of. Please, please, politicians and people of Britain, we are a historic nation and we are seemingly getting stamped on by politicians from Brussels that we have not elected. I want to give you an example of how I feel about the United Kingdom. I'm going to use the children in need scenario. When people phone up on that night for children in need and they donate millions of pounds, people don't phone up and go, hey BBC, I'll give you £5 as long as you don't put any money to any charities in Scotland. And someone doesn't phone up and say, hey BBC, I'll give you £10 as long as you don't give it to any charities in Wales. No, actually a lot of the British people don't feel like that at all. In fact, I would say the majority don't. They give to charity because they want to help, and we don't care whether you're in Wales, Scotland, or whether you're in Northern Ireland. I just don't care. You're part of the United Kingdom. I don't think we would really want to survive without Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland or Gibraltar or vice versa. And I think it's very important that we stick together. We are a very proud historic nation. The thing that winds us all up, actually, I think is the media. And I also think that it's wound up by the politicians, and some of them are trying to better themselves. That's just my opinion. But we are stronger together, and I want us to be proud that we are part of this United Kingdom. We need to talk about the vote, because that's going to be still something that a lot of people bang on about. There was a democratic vote, and I have to say from my point of view that if the country voted to stay in the EU, I would be like, great, we're in the EU, let's carry on. If we voted to leave, which we did, I believe in democracy, so I'm going to follow on with what the majority of the country wants, which is kind of what MPs should do. They should listen to what the people said. Now, I understand that people are upset about the fact that the democratic vote didn't go the way that some people wanted, but really, it's democracy, and there are people out there in the world that die for the right to have democracy. We've got it. We're really fortunate enough to have it. And to keep attempting to overturn a democratic vote is going to do so much damage. If you overturn it once, it can be done again. Some people might not like me saying that, but if we overturn one democratic vote, what's to say in a couple of years' time when we have to choose on something else like a government that we're not going to turn around and all start fighting in the streets and decide that we're going to overturn that again? No, it's democracy, and I think we need to stick with it. And as a country, we need to take a deep breath and say, right, we need to get behind what the country has chosen. I will get on to some other points in a moment, but another thing I'm going to say is to the politicians, the cabinet members, the opposition, shut up talking to the press. Give it a rest. The press are camped out, waiting for one of you to walk out and say, I think that we should have a new Prime Minister. Shut up. You're part of the government. You shouldn't be running outside to talk to Sky News and BBC News every time someone farts in the chamber. Give over. We don't want to hear possibles and this and that, and let's say something on the media because it might wind something up or make Sky News a bit more ad revenue. Shut up. Get on and do what you're supposed to do and govern. Sort it out amongst yourselves, but running around and telling everyone what you think isn't helping the situation, and it certainly isn't showing any loyalty to your party. Let's cover the first one, which they like to go on about quite a lot. Trade. Yes, we're in the EU common market, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, but basically it means that if you buy something in Italy, they can ship it over to us and it arrives to us and we don't pay any tax and there's no duty going between the two, etc., and you help their economy and we help ours. Do you actually think that being the 5th largest economy in the world, that Europe is going to want to let us walk away? I just don't think so. You know, we need to stand up and we need to say, guys, the money is leaving the room. We're gone. We're going. There isn't a barter to be done with here. We're going and we're taking our money with us. And if you don't like that, you need to go and talk to all your big businesses and tell them. You've got these massive companies in Europe and we are a huge, and I mean huge, market for them. And it's going to cause them absolute devastation if their country suddenly decides we're not trading with them anymore. Now, big business sways politicians a lot. You might not think it does, but it does. And for example, if BMW or Volkswagen is making billions of pounds out of us a year, suddenly can't send their cars here because some jumped up little idiot in Brussels doesn't like the idea of them sending cars here, do you think Volkswagen are going to go, oh, that's all right, we don't mind that, yeah, we'll listen to that bloke in Brussels that we haven't voted for? No. The politicians, you need to stand up and you need to make people aware we're British. We're a very important part of the economy in the world. We're the 5th largest. And if you actually think that that unelected group of people who are on a cash cow in Brussels are simply going to stop Europe trading with us, then you need your head read. You need to be a lot firmer. Germany cannot afford to not trade with us. Neither can Italy, Spain, or all the other countries, and France. We mustn't forget our French friends. They cannot afford to not trade with us. It would destroy them. So Brussels, the unelected people of Brussels don't like it, so they're going to stop it. Believe me, it won't happen. It just won't happen. And we need to stand up to what we're being told to do. There are people living all over the EU, from the UK and from European countries living in the UK. Now, if each country decided that if someone owns a house or lives or works there that they're going to start kicking people out, well, that's just going to turn to civil war, isn't it? So the EU and the UK have done the right thing. Straight off, I agree with that. We need to say, absolutely, if you're there, you can stay. That's not a problem. And that is the right thing to do. And I believe that that should still happen, whatever. The EU is telling us that we need to give £39 billion to them at the end of March the 29th, to walk away from our agreement. £39 billion. And then up to 2020, if we don't manage to secure a complete withdrawal and agreement on the backstop of Northern Ireland, which I'll come to in a minute, we have to give approximately another £10 billion a year up until 2020, and then it could increase after that. Now, I'm not getting that from me making it up in my head. I've looked at that on the Guardian website and on the BBC News website just to break things down. So I'm taking it as fact what I'm being told by the media, which may not be a good idea, but I am. So 39 billion at the end of March, and then another 10 billion pounds a year. Now, I know some of that goes out to the UK and some of that comes back in, but can you imagine as a country what we could do with, in our small size, with another 39 billion pounds a year that isn't just being given away or distributed somehow? Can you imagine? That's some new hospitals, that's sorting the NHS out, that's restarting some industry which we've decided to close because it's cheaper to do it in Europe. Can you imagine being in control of our own finances? Now, I'm sure it's not exactly 39 billion. I'm sure that there is going to be some sort of technicality somewhere that the politicians will come out with that means it's got to change. And whether or not we actually pay a 39 billion pound cheque over, I don't know. But can you imagine being in control of our own finances? Good, isn't it? I think it'd be brilliant. And whether you voted Leave or not, can you imagine if someone said, well, actually, do you know what? We're getting a new hospital and they're starting it next week, and a new little cottage hospital for the village, and the NHS is being sorted out. Good or bad? The Irish border and the backstop. Right, you could drive from Ireland into Northern Ireland without going through any sort of customs checks. Yep. And on at the end of March, April, you could probably still do the same. And what they're worried about is the fact that things can get shipped into Ireland and then driven across the border into the UK without any form of penalty, like some money changing hands, or someone in Brussels getting a new coat or something like that from the fact that someone's bought and sold something between two countries. That's what they're worried about, basically, and a bit of free movement of people, which kind of is happening already anyway. And we're told that we've got a problem about that, and that, it's our problem. No, it's not our problem. Not our problem at all. You need to go, whoever is doing the negotiation, into the room and say, if you don't like it, you tell the Irish people that you're putting a barrier or a border up. Because we're not building one. No, we're not building one. If you don't like it, tough. And we're not segregating Northern Ireland, and giving it back to Ireland, or we're not allowing the EU to have control of it in any way, shape or form. Northern Ireland belongs to the United Kingdom, and I'm very proud of it to be there. And we need to turn this back round on the Irish government and the EU and say, it's your problem, not ours, yours. Our people have spoken. You have a vote and you figure out what you want to do, whether you want to put a border up or not. I'd like to remind a few people out there that are, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I thought Ireland became pretty much bankrupt, and everyone in the EU had to scrabble around and give them billions of pounds to sort themselves out, and they're still pretty flaky on their finances as it is. So I'm not about to take orders from a country that can't run its own finances anyway. EU, if you don't like the fact that there's no border, build one, but build it on your side and upset your people, but don't come near our country. It's your problem, you deal with it, and if you don't like it, it's tough. Foreign travel and passports. Now, it's tricky, I know. We can just go around Europe pretty much with our passport. Now, I don't know if you've spotted, but when you travel, you tend to walk out of the EU country that you're in, and then when you arrive in the EU country that you're going into with your passport, you go through passport control. How's that going to change then? Because I know when I go to America, I have to pre-apply for a visa for $14, and then I go through passport control, and they let me in. So what have I got to do? Pre-apply for a visa or something to go to France? Do you think that's going to happen? No. And they've still got passport control. Passport control still exists, so it's not completely free movement in that way. Yes, you can drive around, but the fact that when I'm in France I can drive to Germany without any issue at all, That's not my problem, because we're not part of the EU anymore. That's for them to sort out. So if you want me to fill in a bit of paper to tell you what I'm doing before I land on the plane, I'll do it. That's not a problem. But I don't think passport control is ever going to be eradicated. It certainly hasn't done up till now. So all that happens is we just have a passport that would be British rather than EU. That could be a good thing. According to the agreement, we will remain under the jurisdiction in some way of EU law until around 2020. Why? It's going to be 2090. Why have we got to do 2 more years? No, we're British. We are part of the United Kingdom, and on March the 29th, we leave. So, if you don't like something that we say, that's your problem, but we're going. I don't want to be ruled by, someone else sat in Brussels saying something else. We've had a democratic vote, and we need to go. And let me tell you, I've got quite a shocker for you at the end, which you might find a different point of view. Political arrangements and security. Well, we have a secret service. We've got GCHQ. We've got all sorts of people running around in the country that we don't know about, and it's probably better that we don't. And they also foil things that we don't know about either, and it's probably better that we don't. I'm sure there is some sort of relationship that goes on between European forces and our forces, but we don't know about that. My logic would be that if you have a good passport control when you come into the UK, we could eradicate a lot of the problems. So the free movement of people thing, which means if you arrive from France and you've got no passport, you immediately get some sort of help or welfare or put up in a place until you can be made secure. If we just sent them back, that's not me being racist, by the way, but if we just have borders that were enforced like a lot of other countries around the world, Australia being one of them, and they're part of the Commonwealth, or they were, but their border force is pretty tight, and if you arrive from somewhere and they don't like you, they will send you back. I don't understand why we can't do that here. So we can control our security a little bit more. Maybe things coming in from Europe that may contain banned items such as guns and explosives and stuff like that that are making their way across Europe. Let's search the lorries a little bit more. If they want to slow us down on the French side, we'll slow them down on this side. Let's play them a little bit at their own game. But I believe that our security services are fantastic, and we also work with the United States, and that's something else I'll come on to in a moment. And political arrangements, well, let's be honest, everyone's on their way out around Europe. Macron's got a lot of trouble. I don't think Theresa May is going to be there at tea time. Possibly. Alright, maybe breakfast. But she's struggling. Angela Merkel's pretty much on her way out from her own party. And the other things that the press don't tell you is that Poland really doesn't want to be in the EU. They're struggling with it. Italy's bankrupt. Spain's bankrupt. They're all in turmoil. So really, whoever dislikes each other this week will have someone else to make friends with next week. So the political arrangements are pretty fluid. And I think eventually it gets sorted out. I'm going to go back to trade. If we stop charging VAT on imports from America, so 20% when you buy anything online or it comes in, we could do massive business with America. It's that simple. We could send stuff over, they love British products, and we could get things over from them. So I have to say, come on, America, let's get that special relationship going, and along with the rest of the world, let's do some business. I, myself, did not vote for anyone in Brussels. I don't know who the Brussels MPs are or whatever it is they do. I haven't got a clue. And yet they are over there and they seem to make our laws guide us and take our money. And I don't think that's right. I can't remember the last time I saw apparently this guy that's the president of the EU, whoever he is, walking around my local city to come and have a look and see how we do things. He's never done that. So if they don't come over here and look at how we're doing things, we certainly shouldn't be kowtowing to them. We are British. We are part of the United Kingdom, and we should not be giving money to a European organisation for no reason. And we certainly need to take back control of these negotiations. Here's the curveball. I think the EU is terrified of what's going on, and they won't actually admit it, and they never will. I think the EU knows that if we walk away completely scot-free without any ties or anything, we're going to do very, very well. Why are we going to do well? Because the rest of the EU is still going to want to trade with us, and it's going to cause absolute turmoil in that organisation. You can't turn off trade from Germany, Italy, France, Spain. You can't shut down the tourism industry. We are talking hundreds of billions of pounds a year that is going to stop coming from our economy into Europe, and Europe cannot survive that process. We could actually be the winners here. It could actually work really well in our favour, and I think that EU know that, and I think they're trying to take the high ground, and they're simply trying to make us look the fools, and our government is following along with it, and they're running scared, they're terrified, they're looking at this big group of people on the other side of the water that seem to be doing really rather well, so they say, but I don't think they actually are. And I actually think that we need to stand up to the EU people again and say we are British and we are part of the United Kingdom, and our people have made a decision, and our decision is we want to try it on our own. We're not giving you any more money, and if you don't like that, it's tough, but we are giving you no more money and we are leaving. But we are open to trade to individual countries. And I don't think that BMW, Volkswagen, Unilever, and all the other billion pound industries in the EU are just going to wave that away. It's going to be resolved. I think we're going to be better for it. And the reason I think that is because in the small text on the BBC website with regards to the backstop, there is a clause that has been put in with regards to the backstop, and I'm going to read it to you. As long as the backstop is in operation, the UK will be subject to a level playing field condition to ensure it cannot gain a competitive advantage while remaining in the same customs territory. That says to me, in the small print that's hidden there, that the EU know what could happen. They know that all of a sudden we could be doing completely free trade with the European Union, unguided by them in Brussels. It's just a thought. As I say, there was a vote. I believe in democracy, so I'm going to get behind my country and try and follow that vote. I don't think another vote would be a good idea, because it would simply mean that every time there was a vote that someone didn't like, eventually it would get overturned and we'd have another go until someone got something they liked. Look, we have to stick with it. We have to go with it. But you know what? As a United Kingdom, I think from what I'm seeing that we could do very, very well. And I think the EU is actually terrified. The money is leaving the room. And I think the EU knows that. And we need to use the old Churchill V sign. But this time, we need to turn it round the other way. Because we're the United Kingdom. And I wish to stay that way.